What's up, everyone, and welcome to another Hungover Podcast, episode 116. Today we're going to be discussing and reviewing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is Quentin Tarantino's most recent film. I'm one of your hosts. Ninth film. That means he's got one left, according to Quentin himself. I'm one of your hosts, Julien.
And I am the constant interrupter, Ivan.
That's fine with me.
Welcome to the podcast. You can catch us here on YouTube, or here on iTunes, or here on SoundCloud, or Google Play.
Yeah.
Also, occasionally we stream on Twitch, though we haven't been able to meander that together a little bit.
Figure it out.
Once we have like a constant scheduled life that is amenable to that, we'll shoot right back over to that.
Definitely.
Until then, you can talk to us with comments, especially if you comment on and rate on that iTunes over there.
Yeah, that would be really valuable to us as it helps with our visibility. But Ivan, I think we're edging towards 200 subscribers on YouTube. No, we have 101, and it's really sad. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're putting up more videos every now and then. I'm currently playing through Metal Gear Solid on our YouTube. Metal Gear Solid 2, that is, on our YouTube channel.
And I'm currently working through editing.
Oh, that's cool.
Our next Let's Play videos.
Oh, that's very exciting. I think we're going to have at least one coming up for you soon. But of course that requires some time, so please be patient with us. Ivan, we start our podcast out every single week by asking each other, what media have you been consuming, and what did you drink last night?
Well,
Julien? Oh, okay. Oh, no. Oh, dang.
I'm back on the train.
Hey!
I'm back on the juice. I went 32 days.
Shit. 32?
Yeah.
That's a record.
Well,
It's a
so
goddamn
I
record.
wanted the 31st day was a D&D night, and I was driving on the way to D&D, and I'm like, I really want to drink. I was like, I really want it.
I've never felt more like an alcoholic.
It's like, no, you can't have it. You want it this bad, you can't have it. So I extended it a little bit more until it felt a little less forced and a little more natural.
Yes.
And the first drink I had was Laura made me a margarita.
Nice.
And it was
so
bad.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing with margaritas. They can be bad. Depending
it wasn't Laura's fault. We used this
the mix?
Like New York bartender's guide.
Okay.
No, I have like Cointreau. I got Espolòn.
Triple sec.
And
maybe.
Well, Cointreau is the orange liqueur.
Oh, is
triple
it?
Sec. Yeah.
Okay.
So I got Cointreau and the Espolòn tequila, which is one of our favorite tequilas.
It's a great tequila. It comes in a great bottle.
Some lime juice, mixed it all together, and it was
somehow
right.
Even though the classic shot of tequila is just lime and tequila, you somehow screwed it up when a margarita is mostly just lime juice and tequila. Don't understand.
It was too much tequila to other ingredients.
Ooh,
it was like 3 parts tequila and 3 parts of the other stuff.
Yeah.
It needed to be more like 3 parts to 4 parts.
I see.
At least.
Yeah, if you're
wasn't the best, but came back strong. Had a couple glasses of wine later in the week.
Okay.
And yesterday had a really nice bottle of like sparkling rosé. And completely forgot to get the label or the bottle, but it was a really, really good, really good one. So I'll have to ask my mom because we drank it over at her house because today is her birthday.
Oh, happy
4th.
birthday!
Just like former President Barack Obama or President Barack Obama.
Oh, they have the same birthday?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Closer to him every day. Closer to him every day. That's great.
In terms of media I've been consuming, I saw Once Upon a Time, obviously.
Of course.
And I've been watching a lot of Top Shot.
Ooh. How's that show going for you?
Great. So they just put all the seasons onto Amazon. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch them.
Mm-hmm.
And Top Shot is an excellent, excellent reality TV show that aired like 6 years ago, but it is marksmen competing against each other in the craziest set of challenges ever, and it's awesome.
I think I've
and
seen
I got
the
Laura
show.
hooked onto it.
Don't they like they have challenges where they have to roll and shoot moving targets and things like that?
All sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So that sounds totally accurate. One of the
Shotgun.
challenges was you had to throw your own clay pigeon targets up and shoot them with a shotgun.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's crazy. The stuff they do. They just had a challenge that in the 3rd season where they're on a 35-foot at its maximum peak carnival ride. Basically, you strap in with a pistol and you get spun around to the peak of 35 feet and spun back down, and you have to shoot at a target, an array of targets that is basically mirrors your movement.
Oh my god!
On this piece of wood.
That's
so it's like
dumb.
You're shooting at the edge of a circle as you go around. It's amazing.
Who thought
Plus
of that
the
shit?
drama.
That's nutty.
Oh my god. It's great.
Very
I think it's one of the top reality TV shows of all time. So highly recommend from me. Julien, throwing it over to you.
All right. For me, what did I do? Of course, I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which we'll get to soon. But there have been some recent Nintendo releases as of late. One I've been super excited for, Fire Emblem Three Houses, came out last Friday. No, not last Friday, 2 Fridays ago, I guess. Because we're recording this on the 4th of August. And this game, oh my god, I am so addicted to this game. It's so good. Holy crap. For those who don't know the Fire Emblem series, it's a Nintendo-made JRPG that's also a strategy game. It's a strategy RPG, but it's very Japanese in many ways. And basically, I guess what they've sort of shifted towards now is it's much more like Persona in a way. Persona being another Japanese RPG that's kind of exclusive to PlayStation right now. But because they've always had a lot of relationship building type things in the game where the relationship between the characters is incredibly important. But it's much more like Persona in this game because it's essentially a professor simulator. In a way, might be why I like it. You play
Sounds familiar to you.
You play the protagonist, and you don't speak, but you get to choose options, and you basically have to manage your schedule, and you're sort of in like this Hogwarts type school, but for kind of like medieval warfare as opposed to Hogwarts. And there's 3 different houses, so there's 3 different factions in the game, and you choose one during your playthrough, and you play through that sort of storyline. And for the first half of the game, you're playing through, and everyone's going to class, and you instruct the class, and you build your relationships and that type of stuff. And you can go like fishing, you can go eat with the students, you can do all these fun things, you can train them a little bit, and that sort of and then there's also the students have goals in the game, so they come to you and ask you questions, and it seems it's like kind of cool. It's like actually like teaching them, because you end up sort of directing them in the right way, or at least if you want to. Based on their goals, they become a different type of class or a different unit.
Interesting.
And it's really cool because they'll come to you, but you can direct them. Basically, you're training them to be the unit that you want them to be, but they also have strengths and weaknesses and that type of things. So it's actually really cool to you sort of build you actually care about these characters a lot more than you normally would, because you're teaching them, and then they have to pass these if you want them to be upgraded to the next class, they have to pass an exam, and it sort of feels like you're actually a teacher for them. And I actually really appreciate that part of the game. And you have to manage your schedule. You have a certain amount of activity points, so you can do a certain amount of actions in a day. And then you actually see the benefits of training your units really well, because obviously you go to battle a lot. And then And then halfway through the game, the game sort of splits into 3 different paths. You pick one of the houses, and everyone goes to war, and then it's a whole fuck fest where it gets crazy. So it's really cool. And then there's it's a 5-year gap, so all the characters sort of grow up and change, and I actually like that a lot too. So I really like that game, and also somewhat of the hero from Dragon Quest was released in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I believe last week on Thursday, and everyone in the Smash community is up in arms with him. He's one of the coolest character, I think, ever created in Smash. He's super different. You would think he's just a sword wielder because he has a sword, but they sort of implemented well, for one, he has critical hits which come out at random. So randomly your smash attack will just do more damage and also send the opponent flare back. Yeah, no, it's understandable. There's a lot of RNG coming into play, and this is a fighting game, which RNG doesn't really take place in many fighting games, if not any fighting games that are competitive anyways. And so people are really mad about that, and they want to ban him already. They had a signed petition to ban him in official tournaments for the game, and I think it's a little ridiculous to jump to that conclusion based off of it was like before the character even came out. They just learned about his abilities and things. So I think it's ridiculous. There's no actual tournament data on whether or not this character is broken or not. So I think it's a little ridiculous to jump to that conclusion before there's any tournament data. But that's my opinion, and the Smash community is crazy.
Ban him!
Ban him!
That's easy.
Mess. They're kind of crazy, dude. I hate all the drama. But anyways, that's what I did. I also watched some YouTube videos. I don't know. That's what I did. Yeah. I didn't drink anything this week either. So
good for you.
Yeah, gotta keep it healthy. Anyways, Ivan,
yes,
you know what movie has a lot of drinking in it, though?
Any of the Quentin Tarantino movies, but specifically Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes, that is a movie with a lot of drinking. Bourbon, hard alcohol,
beer,
frozen margaritas, beer, frozen margaritas, which is a great scene. So currently we're going to be discussing our current review and our thoughts about this movie, and we're going to go into full spoilers because, it's much easier to discuss a movie that way. So if you haven't seen the movie, and I may have spoiled a little bit of it already, there is a frozen margarita drink in the movie. I blew it. Please go watch the movie and don't blame us for spoiling it. All right, Ivan.
See.
The verdict. 10 out of 10. We're done.
Nope.
No.
Thank you. Tune in next time.
All
See
right,
everyone.
Thank you very much.
You know I love you. Bye.
All right, goodbye. Actually, I think, we're both huge fans of Quentin Tarantino, I would say. So you have to...
We played our first game of Edward 40 Hands to a Tarantino movie.
Yeah. I think he's definitely a person and a director in the movie world, in the Hollywood world, that is incredibly unique. No one makes movies like him, and I really think that he has a grasp on thrilling movies that really get you excited to watch them. It's always a pleasure to watch his movies, I would say, and he always gets great actors. And I think he really writes the roles for the actors in many ways, or at least his past movies have been that way. I don't know if maybe his first movies were like that, but I would assume that after Pulp Fiction, at least, once he started getting some traction in the Hollywood world, he started writing and picking actors specifically in that way.
I think a few of them, yes. I
Yes.
think in general, the reason that his movies are so well received and kind of unique is because they're so crafted.
Yes.
And he writes a lot of characters with super depth in their presentation. So actors have a lot to work with, and it's not always his idea or like what he does to write on the page, but he gives a lot in terms of the actor being able to delve into depth of character,
Yes.
even with characters that are on screen for a couple minutes.
Right. And I think
it's just amazing. Like the transition between writing a character for Christoph Waltz in *Inglourious Basterds*, which is one of the greatest opening scenes in movie history.
Yes.
And then you move around to this movie is just kind of, it's weird in its structure, but it has a lot of atmosphere, and the dialogue is still fascinating at points.
Yeah, I think he's really great at building a believable, or at least an understandable plot, and sort of, I guess, a believable like world that you're now along for the ride in, at least for the movie. With Pulp Fiction, Inglourious Basterds, you're aware that it's an alternate reality, but everything makes sense together in that movie, or at least I think. And it's not like there's anything that's out of place in that movie, in many ways, and I think he does that very well with his other movies as well. Like Pulp Fiction is it's believable that these types of things would happen, but it comes together, of course, in the end of that movie, and it all makes sense, even though it's whatever, 4 different stories. I don't know how many stories it was. So I think for this movie, however, it's taking a much more let's see, it takes a much more realistic, it takes what's it called, it takes it's sort of like a period piece in a way.
Life.
Yeah. He takes actual events and plays with them in many ways.
Yeah. So unlike the other parts where his historical fiction is more fiction than history.
Yes.
I think that this one centers around one event that everybody knows is this like cultural touchstone, and builds backwards from it in a way. Although it moves forward linearly, it does feel like it's moving backwards from it, because everybody in the audience is going in knowing that this event happened.
Right.
The event being when Charlie Manson presumably orders the hit onto everybody living in Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate's house, and 4 people in real life died. It was kind of seen as the end of the hippie movement, because hippies became legitimately violent and scary, and it was in '69, it brought an end to kind of the decade of love. It would transition into the 70s just after this. So it's a really interesting transitional point. And on the other end of it is you're coming out of 50s in Hollywood, and through the 60s, a lot of what Tarantino is talking to or speaking to is leaving the golden age of Hollywood and transitioning into a period where a lot of the curation of what made Hollywood great in its golden age is left behind for just popcorn bullshit.
Yeah, and of course, in many ways, that is a commentary on the current state of Hollywood, I would say, with, your Marvel movies and everything being a franchise now, and making mega billions of dollars at the box office. If it doesn't make a certain amount of money at the box office, it was a complete waste of time, and everyone involved was just wasting their years away. So I think
one interesting link that just came recently, I was listening to the radio on, I think it was Friday, and some of the contract stipulations for the new Hobbs and Shaw Fast and Furious movie came out, where like The Rock, Vin Diesel, and Jason Statham, those 3 guys, because they're heroes.
Vin Diesel's in the movie? I didn't even know that.
I don't know. Maybe he is. I don't know. It came out about their contracts that they have contracts for the Fast and Furious franchise where, like, The Rock can only take as many punches as he gives out. Vin Diesel can't
so
get
weird.
beat up too much, and Jason Statham can't lose a fight. And it really links in to make that transitional piece between what Al Pacino's character is talking to
Right.
Rick Dalton, Leo DiCaprio's character, about like the reason that you, a former superstar in the Western genre, are getting beat up every week is because they want to show that their new star is beating up the old star.
Right.
And it's kind of like, this is proof that that transition never stopped, that in modern Hollywood, actors have gotten wise to this and are literally building it into their contract.
Yes.
That they are maintaining their mega superstar status by not being able to be bad guys and get the fuck beat out of them.
Right. So this movie sort of has two parallel stories that meet at the end, I would say. And I mean, first the first two characters that you meet are Rick Dalton and his stunt double, which I forget the name of, but is played by Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. And so I guess Leonardo DiCaprio is one of the main characters, if not the main character in the movie. And yeah, as Yvonne said, he's a Western star, and then, or Western movie star, and then he sort of goes down this path of being sort of and pretty much a washed up movie star who is trying to find his way into stardom again, I would say. And Brad Pitt,
and dealing with the aging process.
Right, which, I mean, I think men have it way easier in that sort of respect when it comes to being an actor, which is very unfortunate. But that being said, it's probably not that easy for a stunt double who's aging, even though you're Brad Pitt. And so I thought it was just hilarious that Brad Pitt was Leonardo DiCaprio's stunt double. They're both probably, well, I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio is definitely the bigger star of the two, I would say. But Brad Pitt is obviously
they're pretty
huge.
damn close.
Yeah, he's a huge movie star.
I think they're
obviously
both A tier, A plus tier, you know,
right,
S tier, if you will, with the Japanese ratings.
Double S tier. Yeah, so it's just funny that they were paired together. I mean, I could see it working, but like we were saying, I think it's interesting that Brad Pitt's role in the movie, he's sort of, Leonardo DiCaprio isn't taking as many roles in throughout the movie, and so Brad Pitt is sort of just his handyman in a way. He goes home to Leonardo DiCaprio's home and fixes his antenna, which is hilarious. I think it was just, he had a very funny role. He was sort of like Leonardo DiCaprio's butler in a way. And so Rick Dalton,
it's an interesting testament to like how stunt doubles kind of work in real life. Like there have to be parallels that are not this but close to this, where
it's probably true.
Once a person works with a stunt double, they often work together in the future. See John Wick, where Keanu Reeves is working with his former stunt double on the John Wick project, right? So there are most likely some situations where there develops a relationship, even a friendship that we see between Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth, Leo and Brad. So it's interesting to see how that dynamic plays out, because they're clearly friends, but there's clearly also a hierarchy. So it's interesting.
And then the secondary storyline that we have going on, which of course Quentin Tarantino is known for his multiple storylines, meeting up in many ways and then diverging and meeting back up sometimes. I think that's part of his sort of charm in his movies, is that you have these separate instances or these separate storylines that all meet up together, and you take a step back and you're like, oh my god, this was a great movie. I really enjoyed watching this. And I think that's
part of the appeal of his movies is you think the direction is going one way in terms of the plot, and then you realize that one of the plots is out of time sync with the other ones, and you've had the wool revealed where it was already over your eyes to begin with.
Right.
So, in this movie, I would agree that it's really clever the way that things interweave, but it's so much slower paced that it lulls you in a lot of places.
Mm-hmm. Right. So the second storyline would be Margot Robbie's role as Sharon Tate, and Sharon Tate. Sorry, and Roman Polanski, which I don't know who was playing him.
Rafał Zawerucha.
Yeah, I don't know who
No,
that is.
he's a Polish actor, which fits because Roman Polanski was also Polish.
But I believe that Margot Robbie did a great. Well, she looked at maybe it was
she had
makeup.
Nothing to do.
I know,
dude.
I know. Oh, I thought she looked exactly like she fit the role in terms of her looks, at least.
She did look very similar to Sharon Tate.
But,
it's crazy.
Yeah. So I thought that was amazing, and that worked out really well. They got some really good shots of her, and then so that sort of storyline was like very lame. I thought it was kind of empty, and until the end when you're like, oh, I guess this makes sense.
Well,
but,
I think I think the whole to me, okay, there are three kind of through lines that I have for this movie in general.
Yeah.
One is this is clearly, at least to me, the most personal movie that Quentin Tarantino has made, in that he's meeting and talking to and writing words for all of the heroes that he had in his childhood. So a lot of the Western influences that he has, he's talking to and writing roles for those actors that Leo gets to play. Mm-hmm. The second one is I think that Tarantino is using his commentary on why people should go to the movies. And this movie is designed to speak to the transition of TV and bullshit and Netflix and having just garbage on the air, and speaking to why people should go to movies. Films can do things that no other medium can do.
Definitely.
And the scenes where, like, you're watching an old movie on a TV screen, like a tiny TV screen in the film. But if you're sitting in a movie theater, it's reasonable, right?
Yeah.
But if you're watching that shit on your little iPhone, fuck if you're going to see anything. So he plays with the audience in terms of talking about why you should go to the movies, and that this whole film is about movies and movie stars and Hollywood, and it's talking to an audience that has forgotten what the power of being in the movie theater is. And I think that Tarantino is talking about his love for movies and trying to accentuate it by referencing all of the reasons that he fell in love with movie making,
right,
and trying to translate it to the people. And the third thing that I think he's talking about in this film is people's the experience of violence in film and in real life, and how do you deal with that? So
he always does that. I feel like
yes, especially with like The Hateful Eight, where everybody beats up the female character, and it's just like it's a comedy where the woman gets the shit kicked out of her.
Or even going back to Reservoir Dogs, where Tim Roth is just covered in blood.
And just screaming like a maniac the whole movie.
Yeah.
And fucking shut it! Are you a doctor? Say it with me. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm fucking dying. Anyway, in this movie, I think the whole entire role of Sharon Tate and Margot Robbie is that everybody is on the edge of their seat to watch this woman die. And he's describing, almost without dialogue, a day in her life. And it's kind of like your anticipation and excitement to see the actual action of the film that you know is coming. Yeah. And you're watching the day of a life of a woman just before she dies. It's like a day in the life of Ivan Denisovich, which is this kind of futile existence in a Russian gulag where every single day is the exact same thing, and it's this frustrating Sisyphus kind of like pushing the boulder up the hill. But you're watching her pushing this boulder up the hill, getting to the point where she's going to be fucking annihilated, and you're so bored with her at this moment, but it's just a person living their lives. And it's kind of, the audience never really reflects on their role in participating in the violence of a movie. And you're sitting there watching her go through her day and be happy and being bored with that.
Right.
But you're so excited to see her get murdered.
Right. And to your point about enjoying movies and going to the theaters, like he spent, I don't know how long it was where, Margot Robbie is watching her own movie or many of her movie. I don't know if maybe she watched it more than once. I don't remember. But he spent...
it feels like she watches it 16 times.
Yeah, I know.
It's so long.
It was a long scene where she's just enjoying her time in the theater, watching herself in the movie, which is...
Getting her little toes out, too.
Yeah, oh my god. Yeah, I feel like that was a caricature of itself. Because, by this point, I think it's common knowledge that Quentin Tarantino has a foot fetish. And so there's always a close-up scene of feet in his movies, and I think at this point he just overdid it. He's just like such a close-up of everyone's feet in this movie for multiple seconds at a time, which is fine. I think he was making fun of himself at that point, so I like that, but it was a lot. So I think he made a point to have her really enjoying her watching herself in the movie theater and that part. So I thought that was a poignant point there. But yeah, so this movie takes a long time to start going, to get going, I think. And it was interesting. I thought the most interesting choice was that he decided to narrate, I don't know whose voice it was, but he decided to narrate maybe like a third of the movie and then not the rest of it. And I think it could have benefited a lot if there was some sort of narration, because a lot of these scenes sort of feel scattered apart, at least in the beginning of the movie. The part where there's narration is when Leonardo DiCaprio goes to Italy to...
It's Kurt Russell who's doing the
narration. Oh, it's Kurt Russell, okay. Oh, yeah, and
Yeah.
he's also in the movie, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's weird that he's doing the narration,
Yes.
but I guess Quentin likes his voice, so it
Okay.
makes sense. I like his voice, too. It's really calming.
Oh, no, he's a great...
It settles you in.
It's a great voice. But yeah, I feel like it could have benefited if there was some direction, because he gives you direction into what you're seeing in the film. And a lot of these scenes sort of feel like they're just scattered moments of a life in Hollywood, which I could totally understand if you think about it even more, which is sort of what this movie's about. Just sort of, this is sort of life in Hollywood. It's like you're going from shoot to shoot or scene to scene, and in many ways, or at least that's my understanding of how it works. You got to go to the lot. You're hungover from the day before. You spent all night trying to memorize your lines, but you drank way too half a bottle of whiskey while you're doing it. So I thought that was funny. But adding to that point, the movie sort of slugs along until that point. I think I started liking the movie a lot more once I sort of had some direction to what to think about in each scene. Otherwise, they sort of felt really disconnected completely.
It is a film aficionado, a filmmaker's movie.
Yes.
For a lot of it. And it's like it's a very long movie,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 hours.
His movies are always long, though.
Yes, but 2 hours of watching a movie maker just kind of imitate everybody else's style.
Yeah.
Or like play with the genre and make you be like, okay, they're making a TV show and there should be lots of different setups, but I'm only going to have like one setup outside, and then it's going to fluidly move into the inside, where no TV setup in the 60s could have done this. I'm going to fuck with your mind when you're watching this, and you're not even going to know that I moved the camera into the saloon without you knowing, unless you're really paying attention. Right. And so it's at that point that people who are looking for certain shots or setups can understand when he's imitating or playing with the genre, like how TV setups were But if you're not, you're just watching a movie and it's just super plotting. And you're like, why the fuck do all these people like Quentin Tarantino so much? This movie sucks!
Yeah, this movie, without context, makes no sense, I would say. But with context, it makes a little bit of sense. So I thought it was... so that's what I'm saying, right? So I didn't like this movie until the end of the movie. And then I started thinking about it, like, wow, you could probably watch this movie again and get a lot of different context clues, and probably like a lot of the scenes much more than you did at all. So at the end, we sort of have, it's sort of like, it's an alternate history, right? It's sort of like what he did with Hitler in Inglourious Basterds, where he just kills him. Right, he's like, we got him in this. I watched an interview with him about this movie, and of course he also discussed Inglourious Basterds, and he said, what should I do with Hitler? I have him in this movie theater, and he's like, let's just fucking kill him. Let's see what happens. And he's like, wait, we can't just kill him, but then he just did it. And so this is sort of
that he
the
also
same way.
References his own movie in this movie with the fucking flamethrower. It's
right.
Great.
It's hilarious, right? So he burns
He's just
Hitler.
Like, I can do this. I'm meta enough to be able to reference my own movie in my own movie.
At this point, he's built up enough of a reputation, right? So in this movie, he has the hippies that were assigned to kill Sharon Tate. Sorry, I always forget her name. Yeah. And then he just has Brad Pitt get his dog, pretty much kill one of them, and then in classic Quentin Tarantino fashion, he has them go insane, and everything's become just it's unbelievable, but it's also, you can't stop watching all these people just get destroyed. And then Leonardo DiCaprio just burns one of them in his pool because he saved all the props, and which is hilarious that he stole the weird props.
Yeah, it's like he uses his own past and his own fear in order to save himself in the future. But so there are three people that invade. There's Tex, the man, then there are two women who come in.
Right.
One, the actress of Asian descent, I would like to say.
Yes, I think she was.
I don't know what her character's name was because they were so... it was kind of like weirdly introduced, so you didn't quite know. Like Pussycat, of course you knew.
Yeah.
I knew who Squeaky Fromm... I anticipated Squeaky Fromm, so I know who she was because Squeaky Fromm was played by Dakota Fanning. She's the leader of the group who who was dating George Spahn. But Squeaky Fromm also in real life attempted to assassinate the president.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's one way of living your life.
So I think it was Sadie. Is that who it was? Who is? Yeah,
I don't remember any of their names.
Anyway, this scene comes in where she her eyes get fucked up, right?
Yeah, with
and she's fucked up by the dog, and then she.
Oh yeah, she gets
out.
pepper sprayed by Leonardo DiCaprio's wife.
Did you notice who that actress was?
No.
You've seen her in a movie before that you've recommended on this here podcast.
Ah, that's a shame.
That's Lorenza Izzo, who was in a film with one of your favorite actors.
Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
Was that the woman who's the Merovingian's wife in Matrix? No. That woman also incredibly attractive, and
that's
she's
Monica Bellucci, and she's a goddess.
Yes. She's great.
No, she was in Knock Knock.
Oh my god, dude, that movie
she was
is
Genesis
nuts.
In Knock Knock.
That movie is nuts. Oh god, that's such a weird movie.
So she gets pepper sprayed, but the shot where she's like running out and like doing the wild, like wacky wavy arms
hilarious.
guy.
Yeah.
It's A, hilarious, and B, I was wondering how they did this shot, but that shot is also kind of reminiscent of a Spike Lee move that he does, where he keeps the camera focused on the actor, and he moves the... I think the actor is on the dolly with a certain level of like zoom and retraction, and the actor is kind of just pulled through the scene where all the action is happening. And the actor is slow mode, but all the action is super quick. That scene reminded me of that, plus like a puppet being pulled.
Definitely,
I'm sure that there are references for that specific shot in other movies.
Right.
But that was one of my favorite shots in the entire movie, along with like pulling through into the saloon and making that a seamless shot.
Yeah.
That was definitely my favorite shot of the movie. So I really loved that scene. Though the whole I won't say that I wasn't thrilled with the violence at the end. I was like, finally something's happening. I'm judging all of you for being excited for it. I thought it was really one of the best parts of the movie.
Yeah, definitely.
I think my favorite scene is still probably Brad Pitt getting shirtless and fixing the antenna on the top of the thing, just because he's a sexy man.
Oh, he's a great man.
But it's just like that scene with so little dialogue sets up his character.
Yeah.
You know? And then it goes into the flashback of him fighting Bruce Lee, which is one of my favorite moments.
That
in the
was
movie.
a cool scene.
But I really like the end as well. So
yeah, I mean my favorite character in this movie is Brad Pitt's character. I think I also just like I like Brad Pitt. Come on, he can't.
He's definitely just being Brad Pitt in this movie,
definitely.
Which is cool and charismatic and super fun. And he's like, "What age are you, pussycat? Can you actually give me a blowjob?" Okay.
Not worth going to jail for that, for some pussy. He did a great job in this movie, I think. And
also the little girl was great.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh wow. She was amazing in the movie.
I think the standout character of the film is probably the little girl, but my favorite performance to watch was Brad Pitt.
Yeah, I really...
He's just being Brad Pitt. He's just being super cool.
I haven't seen him in a movie in a while either, I would assume. I don't remember what his last movie was, but I also didn't see it. Fury, probably. He's a great actor, and I think he played the role really well. Yeah, and I think Leo did a great job as well. I think the roles taken out of are all written well, and people play them well, but there's
in The Big Short
just
and Allied.
A lot of movies, or a lot of these scenes just seem maybe too long, or they're just... Again, I like you were saying, this is a very meta movie, so if you don't go into it with that context, then this movie sucks, I would say. This movie is maybe not sucks, but it's kind of boring in many ways. There's a lot of these long scenes just driving up and down that hill that they're all living on. I think Quentin Tarantino loves long single take shots, and he tries to get as many of them in
fucking every director loves driving shots, and for whatever reason, or maybe every DP loves driving shots, and like tries their heart out to make every driving shot unique to their movie.
I like the shot from behind the passenger and driver's seat with Margot Robbie in it. I thought that was a pretty cool shot.
So that shot reminded me a lot of... Did you see The Phantom Thread?
I didn't see that movie.
So I would recommend watching the driving scenes from The Phantom Thread. If you like that's a really... Like, they kind of talk back and forth to each other. I think that...
And they drive so fast going down that hill.
I know, right?
It's crazy. Holy crap.
I definitely recommend watching The Phantom Thread. I really love, like, the tracking shots of when Brad Pitt is just driving crazy.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
And do you think any of the characters were just kind of unnecessary in this movie?
I mean, what is unnecessary? So many of them kind of were, right?
Yeah, there were so many characters in this movie.
But a lot of them are played by, like, really famous people.
Yeah, like Al Pacino.
He got...
I thought his character maybe didn't need to be in this movie. I personally.
But he had that one poignant scene. So
in the beginning or in the
where
end?
he's talking about being a loser in those
right.
fights. That's an important scene for him to have. But like, did Steve McQueen really have to be in this movie?
No, not at all.
No.
And did you know? I don't know if you saw the end credits, but Tim Roth was cut out of the movie. Do you know?
Was he really?
Yeah, he was in the movie. He's credited Tim Roth and then cut parentheses. So he's credited.
That's funny.
Yeah, so I don't know what role he was gonna have, but he was in the credits.
Was Sam Jackson in this movie?
Maybe. That would be funny.
I was almost positive that I saw him sitting at the table in the saloon in the corner.
That's hilarious.
I was also kind of expecting him to be in there, so maybe he wasn't. And maybe I thought he was. But
that would have been great.
I totally thought he was in this movie. But, like, Luke Perry, this is his last film because he died.
Mm-hmm.
That's a crazy person to have in this movie. Did you know that Lena Dunham was in this movie?
I didn't, no.
So she was Gypsy. I thought it was really hard to identify as Lena Dunham. And what was really interesting is in this edit, maybe, or just in general,
right.
He never gave a zoom in to identify. It was really hard to tell that Lena Dunham's character was Lena Dunham. Like, the first shot came in, and Laura's like, "Is that Lena Dunham?" And I was like, "No." And then it went on, and there was, like, I was trying to watch because I was trying to be like, "Is that Lena Dunham?" For like 3 minutes. It's when they're in the Spawn Ranch compound, and 3 minutes that they're in there, I'm trying to be like, "Is that fucking Lena Dunham?" And finally, I'm like, "Oh, that totally is." But he made it really hard to identify her, so I didn't think it was that hard to miss.
Yeah, and then I thought that. Yeah, I mean, I like the movie, but I also think there were a lot of unnecessary, maybe not unnecessary.
It's real long,
but it's a long movie.
It's long. It kind of feels meandering at times. Laura was just like, "Oh my God, do we have to keep trying to discover what influenced you,
right.
Quentin?" So, I don't know. I think I need a second watch through to give it a final verdict on what I thought.
But I mean, the fact that we're picking it apart like this and even having this discussion at all is just, I think it's a movie that really makes you think about what you just watched and why these scenes were chosen and these characters and these types of things. And then I'm still thinking about it to this day. Like, it's still, I think for that, it's, it's a pretty good movie. Right? It's worth watching, and I want to say that for sure. But it's a perplexing movie for sure. I think it's very, there's a lot of things to think about with it, and it's a lot deeper than just the story of the movie. And you have to, it's meta in many ways. So I like that a lot about it, but I also think that it has its flaws in many ways.
For sure. I think that this movie deserves probably a second viewing before you make a final decision on it. But you might get super bored on a second viewing. I think this movie is going to be really actually very hard to watch at home.
Yeah, I think so too. I definitely agree with you.
I think it needs the grandiose scale of the movie theater, the cinema, to give it gravitas.
Yeah. And
I think it's going to be really hard to watch at home.
Yeah.
Which makes me worry in general because I own almost all of Tarantino's movies.
Well, I'll buy the 10 movie packet when it comes out.
That is actually a good transitional piece. Do you think that Tarantino is going to hang it up at 10, the next movie he makes, which Kill Bill 3 has been...
It's either... Wasn't he going to make a Star Trek?
Yeah, there's a story that he's making for Star Trek, so he might write stuff. I don't know if he's going to direct stuff.
So Kill Bill 3.
Oh yeah, his Star Trek project is the next thing that he's announced to direct.
Okay.
And if that's his last project, then that'll be it.
Yeah, but he also was in discussion with Uma Thurman about Kill Bill 3.
Which it seems like he might write, but who knows if he's going to
Well,
direct it.
why would... I wouldn't even try to tackle that if he wasn't... who would direct it then? That's a wacky movie that only Quentin Tarantino can tackle. But so I think that he's so... I think he's obsessed with the idea of having just 10 films, that these are cult classics in many ways, also very successful movies, but and he wants it to be that number, and I think he's a very deliberate man. Everything that he does is pretty deliberate, and he also likes the idea too much that it's 10 movies and that's it. And that was his career.
Yeah.
I think he likes that idea so much that he will actually just do that. But that's my opinion of it. But you think otherwise.
I think he's really concerned with legacy.
Yes, definitely.
So...
He's not like Hayao Miyazaki, who will come out of retirement 50 times in order to make one more movie.
Yeah, I think he will probably.
When he's 90, he'll come out of retirement.
I think he will make a few more movies.
Make it just 10. A CG movie when he's 90. That'd be awesome.
Miyazaki hates CG or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
Don't you remember that?
Oh
that,
God.
That clip?
Oh yeah, God, I hate CG
clip. Too. No, Lion King was best with CG.
Did you see that movie?
No.
Oh, I thought you saw it. All right.
No, I think I was going to see it, and then I decided against it. So.
Good decision, I guess. Maybe it was good. I don't know. I'm sure it was fine. The voice acting must have been amazing, but otherwise.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll probably check it out at some point. But
did you see that picture of the cast of the Lion King, and Beyonce was photoshopped into it because she wasn't there for the cast?
No, I didn't.
It's hilarious. It's not actually hilarious, but she's photoshopped in. It's pretty funny.
That's pretty funny if that's true.
Yeah, no, John Oliver said that she's photoshopped in. And he said that there was tape on the floor next to him that said Beyonce. And he wasn't supposed to get too close to it, otherwise.
That's amazing.
But yeah, so I if you like Tarantino, for final verdicts, we're not actually going long in terms of our podcast, but I think we've come to a conclusion. I think final verdict, if you like Tarantino, which I know some people don't, I think this is definitely worth a watch, just to see, his 9th movie, so you can see his 10th movie, because somehow they're all connected, probably. But if you like the idea of a movie that is sort of a social commentary on Hollywood on its own, and you like the art of filmmaking, I think this is definitely worth a watch. But I
think if you like movies, this is a must-watch.
It's that being said, though,
rather.
it's a slow. Yeah, so if you're not into filmmaking, it is a slow movie, at least until the end. But of course, we've already spoiled it, so why even watch it? Anyways.
The other thing, I think, to problematize Quentin Tarantino and to mention it, this is a movie that is white man centric.
Definitely, yeah. I was gonna bring that up when you brought up Samuel L. Jackson.
Although and the woman who is in this movie has almost no role except for just to exist.
Yes.
So
that is true.
Although this is an exciting movie in some regards and has excellent filmmaking qualities.
Yeah.
You can problematize it by saying that is this a movie that over-glorifies the role of white men in the construction of Hollywood, while minimizing the role of everybody else. And so, probably, that's I think it's hard to deny that this movie overemphasizes the role of white men, but at the same time, Quentin Tarantino is kind of writing a love letter to all of the white male lead men that were popular at the time.
Yeah. Which was a lot.
So, yeah, which was almost exclusively, white men, and showing that women who were starring in these roles were the klutz. So I think he's kind of...
It's meta, man. It's meta.
Referencing it while not really delving into it or really problematizing it. And the best note that Leo DiCaprio's character gets in terms of that was the best acting I've ever seen is when he improvises the line with the Mexican slur in it.
Yeah.
The Bronco beaner.
Right.
So it's it's a mix of both. I mean, Tarantino is difficult to handle in general.
Yeah.
With his liberal use of the N-word and things that he writes, and in this movie there's a lot of references to don't cry in front of the Mexicans, the Beaner comment, for instance, and so it's a weird racial movie, but I don't think that's the crux of it. I think that we should take that into account and maybe really rethink. Maybe this helps us rethink and reframe the quote golden age of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And really elaborate on what that means and things like that. And going forward, we'll see hopefully a badass woman in Kill Bill 3. So maybe
Uma Thurman, right?
I would say this is a movie that needs to be seen in theaters.
Yeah.
And probably should be seen by most people who enjoy the movie making process. If you're there to see a Marvel movie, you're gonna get bored.
Yes,
I think is the basic basis.
But maybe that's the point. Maybe it's so meta.
There are really charismatic people in this film.
Yeah, I know.
So it's hard, It's still a Tarantino dialogue, and some of it is just awesome. Like the part where Leo DiCaprio is describing this book that he's reading, and it matches his own life, and he begins to cry, and he's talking to this little girl who has one of my favorite tropes where the girl is smarter than all of the adult characters in the movie. So it's still got great moments in it. And
the
in that
Bruce
movie,
Lee
in
scene,
that part, we didn't even talk about Bruce Lee. In that part, she's problematizing Leo DiCaprio's character for calling her pussy pumpkin or something like that.
Yeah, that was cool.
So he does kind of play with that whole thing. What do you think of the Bruce Lee scene?
I thought it was very. I thought it was so good. I think that actor really nailed exactly how Bruce Lee talks. I know, again, this is a very meta movie. I thought he made him way too cocky. I know Bruce Lee thought highly of himself, or at least in his movies. I don't know who he was as a person, but I do think it was a little laid on a little too hard. I don't think Bruce Lee was never arrogant. He just knew, or at least his roles in the movie. Of course, he's an actor. I think he was never actually arrogant in his movies. He was just aware of what he was capable of and that type of thing. That's that type of thing. But in this, I think it was to make fun of Bruce Lee, of course.
Being
in
one
some
of the
ways.
Only minority characters that has speaking lines.
Yes.
It's a little weird that he's so brash and arrogant.
Right. But it was also, I think it was poking fun at him more than anything, but I think it was a little heavy on the making him an arrogant guy. But then that's not even, well, that's not even being, not that anyone's a racist or anything, but that's not even a racist thing. Yeah, that you can't delve too much into that. But I thought that the voice and the way he looked so much like Bruce Lee. That was so cool. I was really impressed. And then he gets owned by Brad Pitt, which was also pretty cool. That was an awesome scene.
I thought it was just a funny scene.
Yeah, it was. You can't think too much about it.
If you try to extrapolate from it, it's a little bit weird. But I thought the scene in and of itself was just talking about a Hollywood guy versus like an actor versus a stunt guy, and like the real, like the perception versus the thing. Anyway, it was I thought it was funny at the very least.
Yeah, and of course I love Bruce Lee's movies. They're really great. But yeah, that was hilarious that he got beat up.
It really was. All right. I think that covers everything that we have in terms of our thoughts on this movie. If you have your own thoughts on this movie, feel free to leave a comment below. We're pretty good about getting back to anybody who comments on our videos and just talking through that, and maybe we can have a further conversation on whatever people think was good, was bad. If we didn't bring up something that you got out of this movie, we can surely talk about this in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I love reviewing movies. These are one of my favorite things that we do in this.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the most fun podcast for us to do, or at least currently it is. So I like to do them too.
Yeah, so let us know if you have.
Oh, where did you see the movie?
Old movies.
Where did you see?
I went to see it at.
We like to discuss theaters too. Movie Tavern? Is that like...
Yeah, so Movie
Alamo?
Tavern is kind of like the Alamo Drafthouse light version. So people can still be super annoying there.
Yeah.
They're not as strict about like talking. And the worst person in our movie theater was the fucking waiter, who was just standing his full 6 foot height and talking at an almost normal speaking voice when he came around to seats, because he's tired of having to like stage whisper to people.
Yeah.
I fucking hated it.
I went to, of course, Alamo Drafthouse was sold out in New York City. Surprise, surprise.
Oh.
The one in Brooklyn is so fucking popular. It's out of control.
It's hard to get tickets there.
Yeah, so I went to Nighthawk, which is, again, it's pretty much bootleg Alamo, like you did. And because I can't go back. I just can't go back, man. So Nighthawk is kind of cool.
I've seen movies in the Regal recently. I think I saw the latest Jim Jarmusch movie, which I don't think I talked about on the podcast, like The Dead Don't Die. I think I saw that at a Regal. But
okay. Well, Nighthawk, I would say not nearly as good as Alamo Drafthouse, but what do you expect? You know, these imitators out there. It's basically it is the hipster version of Alamo Drafthouse. That's exactly what it is.
See, what I like about Movie Tavern is Movie Tavern Tuesdays are $5 a ticket.
Ooh, that's a good deal. Yeah.
And I think on student Thursdays, it's free popcorn or something like that.
Wow,
so
that's pretty cool.
They do a lot to try and bring people out. And I like them. I like the new management. It just got bought by new management. The new management introduced these, like, enticements, whatever they're called, to get people going.
Does it have reserved seating?
Yes, it does.
Nighthawk does not, so you have to get there early. So that's something
some shit
to look out for. And also their food's not so good, but whatever. I don't know.
The food at the Movie Tavern is super overpriced in that.
These places are all about getting a beer or a cocktail related to your
My huge mug is from Movie Tavern.
Awesome. Anyways, I just wanted to bring that up because I think theaters are going to have to adapt or die, unfortunately, which is really sad.
They're finding it real hard to compete against Netflix.
Yeah. Fucking Netflix. Anyways,
next week we talk about the Cats trailer, but until then leave you with a segment that we call Hungover Radio, where you submit a song or something that you have had credit on, whether you were in it or produced it, or just it's a friend's song that they're okay with us playing. And if that doesn't happen, then one of us, this week, it's Julien again, because he always does it, who picks out a song that we play at the end of it, and we thank you for tuning in. What do you have for us this week?
We've got a song from Fire Emblem Three Houses, because not only is that game incredibly fun to play, super long game, all this awesome stuff going into the game, but it also has really great music. I think Fire Emblem series has always had some pretty decent music, but this game has a really good music. I like it a lot. So I'm going to play for you guys the main theme with English lyrics, because I believe we don't really get many Japanese viewers out there. Sorry about that, guys. But we love you, Japan. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the song. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Keep the conversation going in the comment section below. And you could also send it in, if you want to send in a song, send it into gaminghungover@gmail.com. We check that frequently. It's on our phones. All right, everyone. Have a great week. Catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Reach for my hand, I'll soar away into the dawn. Oh, I wish I could stay here and cherish hearts in peaceful days. I fear the edge of dawn, knowing time betrays. Faint lights pass through colored glass in this beloved place. Silver shines, the world dines, a smile on each face. As joy surrounds, gunpowder bounds, and I can feel them breaking free. For just this moment lost in time, I am finally me. Yet still I hide behind this mask that I have.